Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am Cemre Ülker, the U.S. Director and UN Representative of the Journalists and Writers Foundation. I would like to welcome you all to the JWF's virtual launch of the documentary, The River. We have journalists Thomas Sideris from Greece and Alex Morel, Associate Professor of Photography from New York with us. The River, directed by Thomas Sideris, covers the escalating refugee crisis in the Balkans, Europe, and shows the life-threatening situations that refugees are going through to reach a safer destination where their rights are respected and indeed promoted. I'm so glad to have the two human rights advocates here with me today. And this fascinating discussion will be moderated by Alex Morel. Since 2000, he has taught photography and visual arts and has been a visiting artist at several educational and cultural institutions, both in the US and abroad. He currently teaches in the Department of Arts and Design at St. John's University in New York. His photographic work addresses topics ranging from the deeply personal to the socially concerned. Receiving many awards and honors, Alex also concentrates on raising awareness on the human rights violations taking place in different parts of the world. I would like to thank both Alex and Thomas for being here with us today. And I wish we were all in the same room watching the documentary together, discuss it together, but given the new normal that we're living through, we're all virtually connected today. And now we will be watching a 10 minutes clip from the documentary, The River, with so many touching scenes. And afterwards, I'll leave the discussion, the platform to Alex and Thomas. Thank you so much.
الله يقويه لما اللي بده يحمينا ويرجعنا على بيوتنا. بيلي البرايق مايا عين خالتك عبيلي اللي فيه.
مين عايز راح صور
ناس حبيب هذا صح بعدني هاي كنت يعني تمشي يا علي وين ما كنت
شيلوا دول.
Wait, you are on direct, wait. Sorry, I was called over. I must put the camera on my shoulder because
Magari elmondtam neki, hogy le lesz a tartóztató. Én majd elmondtam neki, hogy le lesz a tartóztató.
I guess we're live now, right? Hello, everyone. I would like to thank Semri Olker and the Journalists and Writers Foundation for organizing this event, and to all joining and sharing this moment with us here. It is a great pleasure to welcome and introduce Thomas Sideris. Thomas is an award-winning journalist and documentary creator. He works with the Greek Broadcasting Corporation and is one of the few European journalists still producing original radio documentaries on a regular basis. For the past 2 years, he has been a finalist for the Prix Europa Prize, a special award for the best journalist in Europe. He has written several books, most of which based on extensive historical research, the latest one titled The Train of Silence, recounting the testimonies of Alice Hurst Sommer and Jan-Col Wiernik from the Nazi Theresienstadt and Treblinka camps. His academic background is in political science and public administration, with postgraduate studies also in human and social geography. He's also currently a candidate in a PhD program in anthropogeography at the Harokopia University of Athens, Greece. Thomas, welcome. Thank you for being here
Alex.
with us.
Hello again. Good evening to all viewers from Athens.
It's really great. It's a great honor to be here with you. I had the great opportunity of meeting you a couple of years ago. We had a great conversation back then, and
in Maryland, I think.
In Maryland, yes, and it is wonderful to touch base and sit down with you again once more. Thomas, this brief account of who you are is indicative of an exciting and socially engaged and concerned life. Can you tell us some more about you? How did you become a documentarian? What moves you as a journalist, a storyteller? What were the motivations that pushed you to make this film?
First of all, I would like to thank the foundation, the journalist and the writers foundation based in New York. Alex, it's my own great honor to discuss with you. The main idea was to study refugee flows from the beginning of the route to the end. I study the at least 20 years, the human bodies on space. I like to make documentaries because I like to tell stories, human stories about this. And at the past, I have created two documentaries about refugees, Christian Orthodox refugees who came from Minor Asia to Greece, and the Muslim refugees who left from Greece to go to Turkey after exchange population, after Treaty of Lausanne in 1923.
Great. I mean, so obviously you have been involved with the subject of refugees and large migrations of groups for some time. In your film, we see and meet people from many walks of life joining this massive migration. As a way of establishing some general context for our conversation, can you tell us who these refugees in the film, who are the refugees in the film? Where do they come from, and why do they have to leave their homelands?
It's a very, very serious question because for many people, these people are migrants, are illegal people who left their countries to go to Europe to destroy the European culture. For many European peoples, these people don't need help. When you look these people, when you separate your time with them, then only you can understand what feel these people. You know, in Greece, we have many refugees, not only the second 10 or 15 years. You know that many Greek refugees came to Minor Asia, to Greece, and many Greek people left from Greece to go to work in Germany, in USA, in Australia. We had at the start of 20th century many immigration flows to the other countries, from Greece to the other countries, all over the world. You know that Greece is a refugee and immigration country. The immigration and the refugee DNA there is in Greek blood or Greek DNA. For this, Greek people accept these people, the refugees in our country, but it was very important this for these people.
Also, yeah.
Yes. In the first 10 months of 2015, almost 700,000 people reached Central Europe via the Balkan route, according to the European Commission.
Wow.
We usually separate between Western and Eastern Balkan route. The Western passes through Greece, Northern Macedonia, and Serbia, and the Eastern through Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania, and Serbia. In my film, I watch these people to the Balkan route and in northern and eastern part.
Okay, so we see those two areas there. Also, I mean, I think it's another one important thing here. Often we hear the words refugees and migrants used interchangeably, but how should we accurately understand the use of these terms, and what are the implications of such labels?
Yes, it's
So how would you understand them? How should the audience, for example, looking at the film or in general, understand these two different terms?
Yes, many people cannot understand what is the difference between immigrants or migrants or refugees. For me, when people leave from their homes because they haven't money, they haven't food and water, there is war, murders, police violence. For me, all of these people are refugees. There is a narrative that says this most are not refugees, but migrants. We must understand that small or large human tragedies are hidden behind the refugee population. Most of these people left their home under conditions of violence. People leave home for a reason, Alex, and we have to understand this reason. We don't have another choice. We have to understand these people, to stay with them and hear their problems. Let me remind from Italian newspaper. I think it was at the start of July, and a ship with many refugees. Yes, I just read it in Italian newspapers. 180 immigrants and refugees who have been rescued in southern Sicily have been on board for 10 days now. So far, however, neither Italy nor Malta has provided a port from their disembarkation. As it became known, 6 immigrants aborted the ship trying to commit suicide.
Yeah. In your film, you start with an image of the city of Idlib in Syria, showing a panoramic wide view from above, descending towards the mosque and taking us into the city through some of the streets and interior of buildings that have been severely damaged by the conflict. It's a beautiful opening image, opening scene there. One thing that have always struck me in images of areas of conflict and something you clearly depict here are images of people trying to fix and like clean up the place where they lived in what seems like an almost futile exercise, because whatever's left might crumble down at any minute. The effort to clean the rubble from what used to be, let's say, their living room or other part of their homes, more than practical, seems like a metaphor for hope and surviving. It might seem obvious for someone looking at the refugee situation from afar, but from the perspective of the victim, and in your personal view as someone who has witnessed this up close, what makes someone who obviously wants to stay in what was their home finally make the decision of picking up the little they have left and leave?
Yes. In Aleppo, the film started from Aleppo region. We are following the route of the refugees from Aleppo to Hatay region in Turkey, and you can see the disaster. You can see that the damaged houses and the destroyed lives of these people.
Yeah.
But from the remains of their lives and their houses, these people can to have the hope in their eyes. They can hope to the future. They clean their homes before left from their city. They believe that one day they can return to their homes.
Oh.
But for Alex, for many people, they will die during the route. Many people cannot return again in their home. You know that the route between Aleppo and Hatay is the most dangerous route in the world. From at least for 10 years, there was the Jabhat al-Nusra terrorist organization there. And they killed two Syrian refugees during the passage.
You know, I had the opportunity to actually watch the entire film, and the clip that we saw, the long clip that we saw, is in itself a beautiful condensed size of it. But further into the film, when we see refugees close to the Syrian border, here on the clip as well, we hear the terrible cry of a woman. It's a haunting image. Stay with me, you know. Do you remember, you know, what happened to her? Why did she cry like that? Do you remember?
Yes. Because they are friends. They are friends. They wanted to stay all together. All the members of the family stay together before the next the next passage, before the next moving. I can remember a boy in North Idlib. I don't remember his name, but he wore a flipper in one his feet. When I met him on the hill, I think he stayed in a shack, in a very old building, a shack, a hut. And there are many seats in the yard. I saw, when he saw me, he ran to me. And at this time, he saw an airplane in the sky. And then he ran into the home. I asked his father why this boy ran into his home when he saw the airplane.
Yeah.
And his father told me that 18 days ago, an army plane bombed his house and their house, and 18 members of this family killed. It was terrible. Every time this boy saw an airplane in the sky, he thought that the airplanes bobbed against in their home. It's very terrible. You know, think that this boy growing up with these images in his brain.
And definitely, these are like extremely traumatic experiences. The conflict and the destruction and violence that forces them to to go and to move and to leave their homelands. But the process itself also of leaving their home and moving to, you know, another country if necessary. That process itself is definitely something that is going to impact anyone's you know, mind, but especially that of children. You know, right after that image of the cry of this woman, follows a scene of like a beautiful sequence of children actually wrapped in protective sheets, those sheets to warm them up. What's striking to me, for example, is that these sheets are shiny and silvery and golden, and it gives the children an almost sublime appearance. It's really a beautiful sequence, and I think it takes even more of an impact being so close to this other image of the woman, the cry of that woman. You know, those two images, they linger in my mind, I guess, because they reach to the core of our own humanity in a way. Can you tell us a little bit more about that sequence of those portraits of children? And you know, within that, you know, how do you make decisions on what to point the camera at? You know, when I'm sure, like, being on the ground, being there in the midst of all of this, you're seeing constantly a lot of things. So how do you make that decision of, you know, taking your camera and pointing it this way and maybe not that way? In other words, as a documentarian, what is your process like?
Alex, it's a very difficult question because I must to show everything, and I took shots from daily life in the camps. But you have right. The refugee women are carrying a very deep pain. And many times I tried to capture women faces or mother faces, mother who carrying their children on the back, women who prepare cooking, mothers who eating with their children that, who playing nearby the cabs, or children who drawing. This is the other side of the daily life in cabs. But you know, it's only a few moments without pain. All the time, these people, they are thinking to leave this camp and pass to the another camp. For these people and women, men, and children, the target is to reach West Europe, Germany, Holland, Belgium. And now, after close the borders, these people believe that the next target is go to the next cab nearest to our final target. Finally, these people, these moments these relaxed moments are very few. The daily life of these people has pain and many difficulties. They have the food is less, the water is less. They haven't money. They gave their homes. They sold their homes. They pay many traffickers to pass the river or to pass the route for the West Europe. And many people, many refugees believe that they have not future.
Mm-hmm.
They wait to be something, to become, they wait the Europe open the borders. The wait happened suddenly open the borders. Only this.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a moment of like quietness and contemplation to like get to realize that to the refugees, to those who embark in this migration, this is something that is going to define their existence, their life. It's going to change everything. It's going to be central to the rest of their lives, or it might easily become, the last chapter of it for many who might not survive. And it's interesting how, like in your film, you show this also, this moment of waiting, of anxiety, of hope, along this difficult journey of the refugees. Like we see sparse moments of hope and relief, such as when getting close to the border, or of a country, or just after crossing the border. Like you said, their goal. They have a place in their mind that is their goal. Might be Germany, it might be Holland, it might be this other place.
For these people, there is only one solution: to go in front of.
Exactly. So that goal might be very far away, but there are a lot of stages all throughout. So this moment of sometimes hope and relief, like when we get to a border and we finally able to cross to the other side. So that's one hurdle, right? These moments, however, they seem to be short-lived. One of those moments in the film is when crossing from like Syria into Turkey, right? I remember this from seeing the feature complete. We see a crowd happy to get there, chanting the country's name, Turkey, Turkey. But not long after, we see masses continuing west, and the mood changes quickly again, becomes tense. What can you tell us about the opportunities and the challenges that refugees encounter in Turkey once they get there?
In Turkey, there are many of the huge camps in southeast European region. You know that the most the huge camps are in Turkey, and at this time these camps are in near the borderline with Syria. Yes, there are many refugees who believe that their life is in Turkey or in Greece, and they think that okay, I will stay there to work there, to learn the language, Turkish or Greek, to find a work in a big city, in Ankara or in Istanbul, or if I succeeded to pass the river, I will go to Thessaloniki or Athens, and I will stay in Greece. But my sense and my personal opinion is that these refugees, the biggest part of refugees, the biggest population of refugees is they want to pass in in West Europe and live there. There are many families, many members of their families who live in Holland or Sweden or Germany, and the final target is to
Further
reach,
west, yeah.
yes, in this country. But okay, I know in Greece some refugees who want to stay here, and I think I met on 2013 in Reykjavik refugees, Syrian refugees who came to Turkey. They believed that they will live for 2 or 3 years there to work, and after they will come back to their homes. But I think for the most of people, the final target is the Europe.
Mm-hmm. At the western border of Turkey, the situation turns very tense again. Right after we see people like happy to cross the border into Turkey from Syria, seeing, finding maybe some sense of like security there. We see many moving further along the way and getting to the western border of Turkey, closer to Greece, and things are very tense again. We see armed soldiers, Turkish and Greeks on each side. People are trying to jump over the fence. There's no easy access through the official crossing gates. And in the midst of this uncertain moment, there's also one of those instances of relief late in that day, in that moment in the film, when we see food being given to the refugees. So here are a couple of questions. Where is the food coming from? Are the refugees being helped along the way? Who helps them? Authorities, local residents, institutions, aid organizations? Who?
Okay. Firstly, Alex, I would like to tell you that many often Turkey uses the refugee problem to press the European Union.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
And many often creates incidents between Greece and Turkey. The fence of the Evros or Maritsa River is a limit, a geographical limit, but a psychological limit, because these people, for many people, this river is the limit for another world. There are many soldiers, both of the sides, for both of the river sides, and I remember that 6 months ago, we have a very terrible and situation in Evros, because Turkey pressed the Greece and Europe with many refugees who send there from Ankara, from southeast regions, and carrying them with trains, buses, airplanes to the northwest region near Edirne. Edirne, it's a town nearby Greece, and Turkey has this policy about refugees. For the Turkey, the refugee issues is a way to press the Europe.
So they're using, yeah. So at the end, the refugees are being used as pawns for political manipulation of the region and in favor of Turkey there. Can you help us understand a little bit better the process most refugees go through when crossing from Turkey into Europe, into Greece? When Turkey opens its border, for example, does Greece open the borders as well, or do the refugees encounter another obstacle there? I mean, in general, what is the Greece policy when it comes to the refugees?
For the last 6 years, the borders are closed. You know that there is a trafficking business in this Balkan route from Syria to Balkan countries. There are many trafficking systems who win. I don't know exactly the capitals, but you know that it's a very huge business about refugees. Now, the local authorities in Greece and in Turkey, there are non-profit organizations, and in Greece too, they trying to help the refugees. And the same happens in the Balkan countries. I think that the country has a very strong policy against refugees is Hungary. I think that is its policy is very strong, and the Hungarian politicians many times I heard racist and hate speech from them. But yes, local authorities can trying to help these people, but you know the problem is very big. We have at this time closed borders in all Europe. They can't pass refugees in West Europe.
No. The illegal crossing through the river, the Ebro, correct? I met several Turkish refugees in Greece a couple of years ago.
For politicians.
What was that?
For political reasons.
Yes, you know, these were refugees coming from Turkey, Turkish citizens themselves, fleeing the persecution and the purge started by Erdogan and his government. And their stories always depicted, a very difficult and dangerous situation at this crossing point, the river itself. Your images bring us right at the shore of this infamous site, and the tension is palpable in the scenes of your film. Can you tell us a little bit more about the experience of the migrants here, the dangers that they go through, and also, about the smugglers helping them? I mean, I'm using the word help there, is tricky, because you also mentioned that the smuggling has become a big business. So it makes me wonder, are this like, individuals trying to make some money out of the calamity of the refugees, or is it much more organized than one might think, and who might be behind that?
Yes, the smugglers asked from the Turkish refugees, I think, $2,000 or until $5,000. Yes, the Turkish refugees passed the river. Not only the last decade, but from earlier 1918, because many leftist Turkish or Kurdish people,
Yes.
not only political refugees after the change political situation in Turkey after coup, and the pressure from President Erdogan to the citizens, the Turkish citizens. Yes, there are many Turkey refugees passed in the Greece the last years, and many of these refugees live in Thessaloniki or in Greece. But I think that the last year, the situation is absolutely changed about the passage. Now, nobody can pass the river from Turkey to Greece, and there are a war environment in this area, crossing the border line between Greece and Turkey. You can see army trucks and many soldiers, Greeks and Turkish. But you can see the smugglers and the traffickers in the same border line under the eyes of the soldier. Formally, nobody can pass at this time the borders. But if you want to ask my opinion, I would like to say you that yes, there are every time there is a way for immigration of refugees to pass the river because they paid the smugglers or the traffickers.
It's so. Like, for example, in the film, we hear some of the smugglers that you interviewed talked about, saying that it might cost 300, 200, sometimes as low as like $15 to cross someone. But in some of the conversations I've had with like some of the Turkish refugees, they talk about, sometimes thousands of dollars or thousands of euros to cross. So there's like a discrepancy I'm hearing here in terms of the numbers. What are the variables that might affect what someone might end up paying one of the smugglers? Are the Turkish citizen fleeing persecution from the current regime? Are they paying more indeed? Is that like also, I mean, I don't know how to say it. I mean, is that something that is like planned that way among smugglers or some others behind?
Yes. The smugglers told me that the regime, the Erdogan regime, support this business.
Uh-huh.
And it's terrible. I can't believe that a formal political system support the smugglers and the traffickers, but
Yeah.
the Turkish people, Alex, leave their country and pay money because they have not another choice. They can't stay in Turkey. You know that the Turkey is the biggest prison in the world after 2016. Many officers went to prison. Turkey at this moment has a very political problem. It's a country in which the human and the social rights are killed.
Your film provides a very empathic perspective of the refugee experience. I personally believe that there's no better way to understand a situation than to put one's feet on the ground. And you managed to place us, the audience, in the midst of those walking from Syria through the Balkans. We walk with you among the refugees. We see your shadow in front of you while you walk over the railroad tracks. I really like that image as well. How have this experience affected you personally? Are there any like fundamental thing you feel you have come to understand that weren't particularly conscious of before?
I tried to make a film not with my personal view or my personal eye, but with refugees' eyes. My view is the refugees' eyes. And Alex, I'm carrying the pain of the refugees who I met at the past. You know, I must to help some of them to find a formal ID, or I think that one refugee who I met to southeast Turkey, I tried and we found a job for him because he was doctor in Istanbul. I can't forget these people. The film, the last shots were at February 2020, but I'm carrying the pain of the refugees. I can't forget their faces, their stories, and I have to. I'm trying to have a connection with them via social media. Most of them have phones and an account on social media, and I'm trying to communicate with them continuously. And now, one of these cases, the case of Marcel. Marcel is a refugee from Cameroon. I will create a documentary about Marcel. Marcel, it's Marcel carrying a very terrible story because terrorists killed all of his family. Marcel wants to stay in Greece He wants to educate in Greece, and from September he will examinate for the high school.
Mhm. I'm thinking, between in the film, from what I remember, between the Serbian and the Hungarian border, there's a short scene where someone writes the word home on
Yes,
the rail
yes.
tracks with a rock.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I get the impression that many people in the host countries don't always understand the forces and circumstances causing these migrations. And the concept, I mean, the words refugees and invaders start sounding too close to like the same thing to them. It makes me wonder, if the circumstances that forces these migrations were to change, would people go back home? Is it fair to say that that most people, for the most part, people don't really want to leave their homelands unless they are forced to? Any thoughts on that?
The local police and the army forces pressing the refugees and immigrants to go one step back, because you have to know, on this route with closed borders, we have many steps. Refugee going are going from one step to another step. Uh, all of these route have steps, and all of these steps are under from local forces and authorities. But for refugees, there is not a route for back. They
It's not good for. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
it's only forward.
Yes, only look in front of.
Yeah. Any um, any particular incident that touched you or that marked you that you remember that you would like to share with us?
Yes. Uh, After the last incident between Greece and Turkey on February 2020, I remember a family who lived near the river, and and the member, the man, his wife, can couldn't understand what happens, why the border is closed, but he told me that he was decided to pass the river alone, and he thought that if he was dead, maybe for him it was better to dead, but he didn't want to go back. He preferred to die, but he didn't want to go to Syria. And we have, Alex, many stories like this. I lost many cases of these people, and now I'm trying to find their footsteps in local authorities. I want to learn where are these people now. We don't know. We stopped the film, but I want to learn where the people.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the people now?
The process of I wonder, any ideas on the process of integration for those who actually make it to that destination that they have in their minds, whether it is a place like Germany or France or Holland or further. Um, what is the integration process for those arriving to these countries?
To go back to their countries?
Well, as of now, it might seem, or it might be pretty unlikely the possibility of going back, or at least anytime soon, while conflict is still not resolved in those areas. But for those who are, who go through the journey and actually make it to this other countries in Western Europe, where they might would like to stay. The process of integrations, the policies of these countries for the refugees
Yes.
To become part of the society there. How what difficulties are there? How are this process in place? From what you know, from what you understand.
Yes, I don't know the process for each country, European country separately, but I know that there is a European model about asylum. The refugees ask for the local authorities to make the process about asylum. For them, it's the first step to stay on the route and on the target. The asylum is the first step to stay in Europe. The European policy about asylum does not change the last years. But after refugee flows the last 5 or 6 years, some countries decided differently from the European rules. And this is the problem. For example, Slovenia or Hungary, they have a legal system about refugees, and they decided suddenly to close the borders. But the European policy is different. I think that the European Union supports the open borders, but now we have local governments who refuse refugees in their countries.
In their territories, yeah.
Yeah.
Thomas, I'm receiving a few questions from people from the audience watching here. So I would like to, I know that we have reached an hour, it's already a little past 1, but maybe we can hang up just a few minutes and hear from the audience. So let's see, I have one here from Mr. Mehmet Kilik. On the newspaper, he says, we hear about the pushbacks of refugees from Greece to Turkey that risk the lives of refugees who are fleeing from persecution in Turkey. Is this compatible with the international and European laws based on the non-refoulement principle?
Yes, I think that Mr. Kilic has right. Many times Greek government push back refugees from Greece to Turkey. And the problem is if these refugees are political refugees, because they have a very big dangerous to go again to the prison. I think that the system of asylum must have a personal view about for each refugee separately. Not all of the refugees under with the same rules, but each case is different.
Mhm. There are a couple of questions concerning the children or minors that are going along in this caravan.
Yes.
One of them is wondering,
it's a very huge problem. The alone, the unaccompanied children.
right. So that's one of the questions. Are there a lot of unaccompanied children or minors who um, does anyone looks after them or take care of them or not? Did you have any chance to talk to them,
Yes.
To interview? I mean, like I said, I saw the entire film, so there are a few of those interviews or talks in which you approach them, but maybe you can tell us a little bit more.
Many of the children of my film are unaccompanied children, and you know that the policy about this, the policies about the children in European Union, it has many problems because these people are unprotected. These children are unprotected children. In any cases, the local governments push these children to the next step, and we have consensus between 2 or 3 countries to accept these children. But I don't think that this process is the right about these children.
Yeah. There's one last question here. It says from Hafsa Girdab. I know you interview Turkish refugees, women. Based on your observations, what is the most challenging thing that refugees have to deal with?
About especially refugees women from Turkey?
It seems that way, yeah. That's what the question says.
And the chance in Greece?
And yeah, I guess in general, the most challenging things that they might have to deal with. Yeah.
Difficult question because we know what happens in Turkey, and we know which is the position of Turkish women, and for Turkish refugee women, I think that the problems are there are many problems because I think that the situation from the situation about refugee women is difficult, especially for Turkish women, because in their countries the political system and the social system about the women is complicated.
Yeah. I guess maybe I can also say a few things about that from my own experience, having met a few Turkish families in Greece. It's hard. I mean, for me, it would be very difficult to pinpoint what is the most difficult challenge, for example, since the challenges are too many and they're all difficult. The process of leaving Turkey and crossing the river or crossing any other way through another country, that in itself, from all the stories that I heard, are very traumatic, from women who are pregnant, just about giving birth, having to go through a cold night on a little raft on a river, or to someone actually, losing their newborn in the middle of that trajectory. And once in Greece, one of the most difficult things is the uncertainty of what's going to happen, the next day. Maybe not being able to move so easily into another country, and not knowing how one is going to survive in the country itself. On the other hand, and I think I should point this out, for the most part, one thing that I kept hearing was how welcoming Greece was, or unexpectedly welcoming Greek was to the Turkish refugees. That surprised me a lot, because we don't hear often of like any particular country who is really welcoming us. That there are a lot of issues, but compared to maybe like people coming from other places, it seemed that the Turkish government opened its arms, or was a little bit more open to the Turkish refugees themselves. What's your take on that?
Alex, I think that Greek and Turkish population share the same past and the same future, because very close. These countries are very, very, very close, and they have many common issues. I think I met many Turkish refugees in Athens and in Thessaloniki after 2016, and I met a Turkish family who lost their children in the sea or in the river. Their children died, and these parents were under terrible situation. But I think that Greek people welcome Turkish refugees, and I think that they can Greek people can understand these people, because there isn't a problem the different if they are Muslim and Greeks are Christian Orthodox. It's not for the philoxenia or hospitality in Greece. There is not important the religion or who believes each people, each man or woman. I think that Turkish people feel good in Greece, because the Greece likes the same with Turkey. The same culture, the same daily life, but Greeks trying understand the situation in Turkey, and they are trying understand why happens this, and the Turkish people leave from their country to came to Greece or other countries, and it's complicated, because we have the human cases and the political incident between Greece and Turkey. At first, we have the political issues. And together we have the human issues, the human cases, and really I don't know what will happen at the future, because every time the situation in Turkey is most worst. I don't know.
Thomas, where can we expect to see the full feature film in the future?
We have in front of us the film festival all over the world. And I think that after 2 years from today, we can see the film in USA, in cinemas of USA or European cinemas. And at the end, I would like to tell you that the title of my film is symbolic title. The river,
Yes.
okay, the river is the Evros River or another Balkan river, but it's symbolic because this river, maybe it's a human river who wandering the Balkan space, and this river, maybe it's a limit, a border line between Spain and Morocco, or a borderline between USA and Mexico.
Yes.
If you've seen the thermal cameras, the materials of thermal cameras of Frontex, maybe these materials are from USA police forces or Spain forces or Frontex forces. It's the same situation. The borderline are the same, and the human pain is the same.
Thomas, I want to thank you sincerely for the beautiful film that you have created. I hope everyone gets a chance to view it soon in its full length. I want to thank you for your time here with us, sharing your insight and your thoughts about the refugees crisis at the moment. Also want to thank again Samri Olker and the Journalists and Writers Foundation. Thank you for not cutting us off. I know that we're a little past the time that we went, but the conversation at this time has been really good. I hope everyone that joined us have enjoyed it. Thank you again.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, all of the viewers this event. Thank you very much, the Journalists and the Writers Foundation, especially Cemre Ulker. Thank you, Alex, for another time.
My pleasure. Great honor. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.